Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NerdKave Podcast. We have a lot to discuss today. Well, pretty much we have a bunch of social channels that we recently made, and from Instagram to Facebook to TikTok to Twitter to Discord to Twitch, all the social channels. I'm gonna try to link them in the description. If not, it is on our YouTube channel in our About page. All our links and all that. But it's usually the Instagram is the NerdKave Podcast. The Facebook is the NerdKave Podcast. TikTok is at NerdKave. Twitter is at NerdKave Podcast. And the Discord is the NerdKave Podcast. And Twitch is, I think it's just NerdKave. So follow us on all those social links. We'll be posting there periodically. We're going to try to figure out a good thing to just reach out to social channels and all that. But yeah, so Max, we're going to jump into this, and I want to just see how your week went.
Oh, my week's been going pretty good. It's a little hectic because of work, just working a lot, and the job I have to get up at usually around 4 every morning. So I've been adjusting to that, comparing to getting up at 7 or 8 in the morning, which hasn't been a huge change, but it's been a little bit draining. So That's how my week has mainly been. But besides that, there's so much content coming out from everything we're going to talk about today that it's kept me going. And looking forward to recording this podcast. I had so much fun last episode, and I can't wait to see what we discuss this episode.
Oh, we're going to have a lot of fun this episode, I think. I've been super excited this whole week. I've been just thinking in my head, just ideas and things. And just I literally, what was it, a few days ago? When I sent you all those links and all that, I literally spent the whole morning just doing all that. That was Saturday? I believe that was Saturday.
I think so,
I'm
yeah.
not mistaken. And I was just I was just going through and I was just all right, what's next? Instagram or Facebook? Okay. So I was just doing that, and yeah, this past week, work's been crazy for me too. I had to go on a few routes because part of my job we delivered different convenience stores around the Midwest, so it's it could be very physical job and demanding. So it's that's what I was doing today. But other than that, it's been all right. This week has been going great. This weekend was great. Are you a football fan?
I am a casual football fan and a very invested football fan when the games matter. So early in the season, I watch them, but I don't really get into it until the past couple weeks we had where it actually leads up to the Super Bowl. Then I become invested and I kind of decide which team I'm going to root for. So
I'm a big Matt Stafford fan because he was from the Detroit Lions, and when he went to the Rams, I was like, man, he has just a really cool aura about him, how he just manages game clock and all that. I don't know. For me, I'm not really invested in football, but I'm very much the same way with you. It's the Minnesota Vikings, and then whatever else happens in the season and stuff. I'm a football fan, I would say. I'm not just loyal to one team besides the Vikings, obviously. But, yeah. But no, that's been crazy this weekend. Tom Brady, he announced his retirement today.
I saw that. That was big.
And I know. Yeah, and I know the speculation was, what was it, Saturday that he announced it, but then everything got skewed and didn't turn out to be the case. But today he actually announced that. So
yeah, I mean,
I was
it's
surprised.
For football fans, I'm sure it's kind of bittersweet because I know some people, loved him when he was with the Patriots, and then when he went with the Buccaneers, they stopped following him, and then some people are diehard fans all around. So I'm sure it was a really interesting conversation on places like Twitter where everybody's opinions are kind of out there, and I haven't looked, but I probably should because I assume there's a lot of talk about it.
Oh yeah, I was curious about that. We could go into our actual episode. I was just curious on if you heard anything about that. So, all right, well, welcome everybody, and our first topic today is the book of Boba Fett.
Yes.
So I've caught up. I'm on episode 5. Well, it's going to be 6 tomorrow. But Max, I know you watched the first 2 episodes. I want to get your input on those, and let's have a discussion about it.
Yes, so I have watched the first 2 episodes, as you said, and it's already, like, it's really weird with the first 2 episodes, because the first episode, I have to admit, I don't know if this is just me not remembering stuff, or maybe, like, the editing style isn't quite what my brain can pick up on fast, but I was really confused for the majority of that episode, because I didn't know, like, what the time frame was we were looking at, or why the storyline necessarily mattered. But going into episode 2, I can see exactly how it's lined up with, like, what we saw in the Mandalorian, where this is, you know, his flashbacks and stuff like that. So I think, like, beyond the first episode, which I enjoyed, but again, I was a little lost at times, the second episode really did it for me, because I didn't I've never been the biggest Boba Fett fan, and that's not anything against the character or actors or anything. He just never really stood out to me. But I think this series is going to hopefully do what the show's already doing for me in bringing more people to this character and really understanding him in a deeper way. And I think they're doing that really well so far, because you see, like he says, that he wants to rule with respect instead of fear, and just seeing how that's going to affect the Star Wars world, because generally it seems like everything is fear-based in terms of, like, rulers and stuff. So I think that'll be interesting to see, like, the pushback on that. And then also his interactions with Ming-Na Wen's character. Yep. Loved her in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I'm so happy they're kind of keeping, like, a consistent character with her. I don't know if that's just, like, she's becoming a typecast person where she's always going to be that kind of, you know, second-in-command fighting type character, but she absolutely kills it doing that, and I do hope we learn a little bit more about her in the show, but if we don't, I still really enjoy everything that she's been doing, and I'm sure you'll know an answer to some of these questions I have, but yeah, and then I did see a spoiler for the recent episode, which makes me even more excited. I am not going to say it, but the Mandalorian.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm really excited to see how that comes into play. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the show overall?
You'll definitely like the newest one that you saw. But yes, so for did you watch the original trilogy? 4, 5,
yes,
6?
I've seen all of the films and the Mandalorian as well as the first 2 episodes of Book of Boba Fett.
Okay, cool. So basically the flashback at the beginning of that first episode was, like, Boba Fett getting out of the Sarlacc pit and like all that. So, like, and then so the Bacta tank that he's in, it heals him, because Bacta in the Star Wars universe, it's like a healing agent, which yeah. So, like, through these times that he's in the Bacta tank, he has flashbacks about, like, time leading up to where he is now after episode 6, obviously. So, like, you'll see from what you saw in the first 2 episodes, like, the Sand People, the Tuskens, took him in, and it pretty much made him like a slave. And then in episode 2, if I remember correctly, did you see the part where they were out? It was him and the other slave, and that kid, Tusken, that were out in the
when they were getting the water things
or whatever,
yeah.
And then they got attacked. Did you see that part?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, and then with Boba Fett, him saving that kid Tusken, he became one with the tribe, And as you saw at the end of episode 2, they welcomed him into the tribe, which will set up for the next episode for you. And so Boba Fett, to me, Boba Fett is a very like he's like the badass space cowboy or whatever it is, where it's like he in the original trilogy he didn't talk all that much. He was very mysterious. Nobody really knew about the character. And then in the Book of Boba Fett they made him dynamic, where it's like the difference between static and dynamic characters. Static characters don't talk that much, and then dynamic characters talk a whole bunch. So in this they established like his character arc, and he talks more, and it's like interesting because Tamara Morrison, the guy that that plays him, he was also Jango Fett in the prequel trilogy, and having him back to do Boba, because the clones were all duplicates of Jango. And so
I remember the first time I watched the film where that happens. I was like, okay. I started connecting some of the pieces. And when I heard initially that with The Mandalorian that the actor came back, I was really confused because at first I thought people were talking about like the original trilogy.
No,
I was like, how is that going to work? Mm-hmm. But it makes a lot more sense now.
So Boba Fett is a clone of Jango, but the thing with Boba, he's a unaltered clone, so he doesn't age as fast. So he's like Jango Fett's kid, right? Yeah. And so obviously all the clones were Jango Fett. So like, of course, Tamara Morrison was Jango Fett, right? So it was just Tamara Morrison's face on all the clones and Boba. And like, just like having him back in that original role again, and like, portraying Boba Fett and telling his story. I really enjoy just the acting he does. And, just like for him to come back, because the original person that played Boba Fett, he passed away. And not too long ago, actually, it was last year. And really? I remember, so like, and this being kind of just like, I don't know, just like a love letter to Boba Fett. And like, I've enjoyed every episode so far for different reasons. But for me, Boba Fett was a very big character growing up. Like when I played Lego Star Wars, I was always Boba Fett. When one of my first costumes in middle school that I got was Boba Fett, and like just like this guy with a mask, very much Master Chief like, that didn't talk a whole lot, very mysterious, this badass character. Like, what's his role in the universe? And we get to see like just his character development, and like we see him grow from the Mandalorian, and you get to see like what his intentions are and what like kind of person he is. Like, he's not a bad guy. He just came from a life of crime, and like just his character growth to the person he is now is just very interesting to see.
Yeah, and I think something The Mandalorian really helped with for all characters that are like bounty hunters and stuff like that, is they established this need for them to do it in order to survive, which I don't know if that was really touched upon in the any of the trilogies, but I think The Mandalorian in particular, at least it stood out to me more if it was in the other ones, is I like how it was really this kind of, not necessarily like the creed or the lifestyle or whatever you want to call it, but it was this means of survival that was like more than the individual, and the whole idea of like how these characters are, and they do this to survive, because Star Wars, it's not a pretty place. Like generally, you have like the upper people, and then there's like everybody else, and then there's the people who are like more skilled amongst everybody else, and stuff like that. So I think just seeing that more like ground level character who is more skilled than other people but still doing it just to make sure they can like get by, I think is a really cool dynamic just for a character in general. And I think now seeing Boba Fett, become a ruler, it'll be interesting to see how they go about like changing from his not changing from his previous self, but like how that transition happens for the character. I'm very interested to see.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And like if you think about it, without Boba Fett, you wouldn't have the Mandalorian. You wouldn't have Mandalore. You wouldn't have all these things because back in 1977, Boba Fett was just or I guess 1970, whenever the Empire Strikes Back came out, Boba Fett was just a background. I wouldn't say a background character, but he was just like a bounty hunter, right? But he had that mask, and all these years later, because of like his character and the art style they went for him, and like what he was like, everybody fell in love with him. So they're like, the Mandalorian the season came out. You also had like the growth of the Mandalorian Wars, and like all this sort of stuff came to be, and they all wore similar masks to Boba, and just all this like, where did Boba Fett get his armor and like all this stuff, and he is Mandalorian because of his father.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just like everything kind of ties in, and it's really cool how just this one character can create so many things, and it's like from all those years ago. Like it's really cool to see, and I can't wait to finish off the last few episodes here coming up for it, and just seeing where this character goes and what they plan on doing for him in the future.
I think that really shows how much Disney understands what people want, and I think this is a great segue into our next topic, which is the box office for Spider-Man No Way Home. Yes. We talked about this in the first episode of the podcast, just the movie in general, things we loved about it, and the box office for this movie, I want to go a little bit beyond just this movie, but it has so many questions just in the movie industry in general, because the last number I saw was 1.74 billion, I want to say, is the global box office. Oh, and yeah, it's like the 6th biggest movie of all time, even with, the pandemic stuff still going on. And like Disney really knows what they're doing with, for the most part, I would say, the sequel trilogy can be debated, but they really have found how to bring in these characters from a long time ago, like Boba Fett, and like Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire and all the villains in No Way Home, and really give them a useful storyline that works for them and also works for the story that they're being introduced in. And I think the box office really reflects that, along with Disney Plus being one of the fastest growing streaming services out there. It really shows how well Disney understands all of this, and Sony as well for the Spider-Man side of things. But the box office really makes me wonder for Spider-Man No Way Home, like, is that the standard now? Because we saw with the new Scream movie, it dethroned No Way Home for like a weekend, and now No Way Home is back at number 1. And while Scream is doing all right, it's definitely not on the levels of like a Spider-Man No Way Home. And it makes me wonder, and you can let me know your thoughts on this, if these big movies that maybe, are like a collaborative thing between studios, or bring in old actors and characters and stuff like that, do you think that is the new standard people need to go for if they want a big movie? Or do you think it's just a matter of nostalgia playing in and things will eventually balance out in the future?
That's a good question. Nostalgia is a big thing right now. So like when people see old characters return and etc., like it's like for them it's like, oh, that person's in that movie, I gotta go see it. Like for Spider-Man, for Spider-Man, they marketed that so well. like you had Tom Holland up there, like just like I can't tell you, and everyone's just sitting there like, oh, they're in it. I know if they're not in it. Oh no! And then like you had Andrew Garfield trying to not spoil anything, and yeah,
he was great. He was so funny in all of his interviews. Like he did one with Jimmy Fallon. Mm-hmm. Or Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was
Jimmy
Fallon,
Kimmel.
Though.
It was Jimmy. No, I thought it was.
I don't remember. I can't remember. But either way,
I think
it was like the whole thing where he's like, "Oh, I've never seen that photo before," and then like a minute later, he's like, "Oh yeah, I've seen it, but it's fake. It's photoshopped." Just
no,
like
yeah. I saw one thing where he was on, and then I don't know if it was Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield, and I thought it was Jimmy Kimmel. That's like, you realize that if you're not in this movie, everyone's going to throw a riot, right? I don't remember who that was though. Gosh,
that sounds like something Kimmel would say for sure. I feel like Fallon would just laugh, but yeah, because it's so like crazy. Like you were talking about the marketing for this movie. Because they really didn't have to give us Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire. They just had to give us, like, the idea that they could be in it. And that's how big it was. Like, it already had... Before the movie came out and people, got the confirmation they were in there, on Fandango, it passed Avengers Endgame for pre-sale tickets. So, like, just the idea alone of... like you mentioned, these nostalgic characters coming back, like, it's crazy to me. I bet Disney spent less on this than they had marketing just any traditional Marvel movie or TV show, because they really didn't need to, persuade people to see this. The rumors were out there, and everybody who, grew up on those movies or likes Tom Holland's current movies or both already decided they were going to see this movie. So it's just a crazy mix of everything, and I really don't know where it's going to go from here, because Marvel's going to keep doing their thing, and I hope they can stick with original storytelling while most likely, bringing some old characters back or whatever here and there, but also just what it means for everything else, because nothing has been able to reach the levels that they were previously at, except for Spider-Man and Star Wars on streaming and all of that too.
Yeah. So I was also going to say, like, the other thing that they did well with marketing for Spider-Man was like poster stuff, Green Goblin. If you have Green Goblin, then you got Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man maybe hinted, and they just did things so well that like where people were like, are they in it? I don't know. We'll see. And like, they had all sorts of people making like fake TikToks about Tom Holland and all three of them in this movie. And I was like, oh, so yeah, it was interesting. But back to like, when you said like Scream compared to like Marvel movies and stuff like that, like Scream does very well. But it's not horror season. I feel like it would have done better if they released this at like Halloween time, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. I just think in general, movies like that should be released at Halloween. I don't know why it wasn't.
Yeah, it still did great, but just like, so Marvel, no matter what, when Marvel comes out with a movie, people are gonna watch it. It'll make its money, like because it's Marvel, and everybody, no matter if it's good or bad, people will see the movie. When it comes to like Scream and stuff like that, it comes down to, I think it does come down to reviews sometimes, depending on if you're hardcore fans of it or not. Like if like for me, I'm a Scream fan. Like I would definitely just go watch it because it's a Scream movie. But like, you get those people that are like review based and like, oh, I don't know, we'll see. But I'm very much open minded when it comes to like movies that I might and I'm like, okay, I'll go see it regardless of the reviews and stuff. But also the nostalgia factor of them bringing in like previous cast members and stuff to like newer movies and all that definitely helps, I think, the box office in some ways. But will it level out? It's hard to say. It's hard to tell the future. like I would love to see new actors come in that can act really well, and because that you'll need that eventually, and people will rise up and like here and then and make great performances. Like Tom Holland, for example, becoming Spider-Man, and there are some people that are mixed about that decision, but like overall, I think Tom Holland is a great actor with what he does, and even besides Spider-Man, some of his other movies too. So it's like, it all comes down to just like, it comes down to the acting too, and the script and all that stuff. So it's it's hard to say where it goes, but honestly, like for what Spider-Man and all these other movies, like the new Sonic movies coming out too, like I know that'll be great.
Oh yeah.
So,
I haven't seen the first one, but seeing Jim Carrey in the trailers and all that, I need to see it because I heard the first one was really good.
Yeah,
and
it was.
Jim Carrey is Jim Carrey, so you can't go
Carrey
wrong
is Jim
there.
Carrey. You can't go wrong there. Love Jim Carrey. So yeah, that's I guess we can segue into our next one with that. The new Batman content coming out, the movie and stuff and all that. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I mean, just like there hasn't been a whole lot about the Batman movie, but there have been some new posters which they dropped over the past week, some of which were released today. And then they had the TV spot, which you said you hadn't seen, but it was, if you said you watched the trailer, right?
I watched the trailer. Yes, I watched the trailer.
So the scene in the trailer where they're at like the funeral and the car drives through all the chairs and stuff, they put out like a 2-minute clip from that scene. And I think it's just like, it's so cool because it gives us the vibe of the movie. It reminds me a lot of the TV show Gotham. I don't know if you saw that one, but it had a really great gritty feel, but also didn't feel like it was stuck too much in that. And I'm getting the exact same feeling from that scene and the trailers as well as the posters. So I don't know if they took inspiration from the show Gotham or if it's just a Batman aesthetic, but I love everything I've seen from this movie so far. And it comes out in just over a month, like a month and 2 days, I think. And it's felt like forever because I remember the first, news we got was the casting of Robert Pattinson, and everybody, for the most part that I saw, was either like skeptical or just doubtful or angry about it or whatever, because people wanted Ben Affleck and they were, upset that he didn't get his own movie and trilogies, which is understandable, but they needed to give Robert Pattinson a chance. And then the first trailer came out from DC Fandom 2 years ago, and everybody was sold. And I think the hype for that movie is there. I hope it does well because I know they're wanting to base some spin-offs off of it, like a Penguin show, a GCPD show. There's talk of maybe even a Catwoman show. So I'm so excited about that. And yeah, did you have something you wanted to say about it?
No, yeah, I think I actually briefly heard about the Catwoman thing, or a rumor about it anyway. So that was something I briefly saw online or whatever. So that and like overall, like I think Robert Pattinson, he like very underrated. But I wouldn't say underrated, but more just like
kind of overlooked.
Overlooked, I guess. And I think he definitely could perform Batman. And like I like the grittier style on things. I like the darker, like the Joker.
Yeah. Oh, I love Joker. I love Joker.
Just like that performance. That sort of dark gritty stuff is what I like enjoy about Batman. And what I like just like the more serious stuff, and just like in Joker, they played a lot of mind games with you, and like what's real and what's not, what's going on and what's not, and like just overall like the grittiness in sort of Batman movies and all that. I definitely love, and I think Robert Pattinson will do great doing Batman. So overall, like even with the trailer and all that, I think it's very just like cool to see another perspective. So it's yeah, overall I'm excited.
Yeah, I 100% agree that like the gritty kind of feel we got from Joker, I'm right there with you. I love that movie. Everything from the way it was shot to the script to the casting, the mind games like you mentioned with the whole like his and his mom's medical history, and there's so much right about that movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time because of things like the cinematography, and I'm getting the same kind of feelings from the Batman. Obviously, it's different directors and things like that, so it's going to be a different vision, which is good because they're not connected and you don't want to repeat the same thing. But just things like their idea with the Riddler and taking this character that in live action, the only kind of movie portrayal of him was Jim Carrey, and that was very Jim Carrey. It wasn't very like Riddler-y, I guess you could say. Maybe some of the more like, I think it was the Golden Age stuff where they had like the old Batman TV show and it was more, like the pow and the humor and stuff like that. But seeing a Riddler who really kind of fits in the world of Gotham works for me in the way that they're doing it. And I think part of that, going back to the TV show Gotham, is probably based upon the really good reception of the Riddler in Gotham being a little bit darker and giving him more of an edge to his character. And I think seeing the overall fan response from that and just how happy everybody was to see a real Riddler, they're taking it one step further and making him like the Zodiac killer. Yeah. So I think this is going to be such a good adaptation of everything Batman. Whether you like it or not, it's going to be something that is going to leave a mark on all of these characters because it is pushing that boundary even farther.
I definitely agree. I definitely agree with that. So it's going to be exciting what they come up with, what also the future holds with that, because like Batman, it has also been one of my things like I grew up with and I enjoyed. So, but do we want to go to our next one? Segue?
Let's do it.
All right, cool. So we're going to jump into some 80s coming back to music.
Perfect segue.
Yes, perfect segue. It was. I really didn't know how to segue into that. I guess I could have went as Batman was from back then. The 80s coming back to. I don't know.
we could talk about how I guess it's too late now, but we'll leave this in here because it's funny. How for the 1989 Batman movie with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson, how Prince wrote some of the soundtrack for that. So I guess that could have been there's our segue. There's our transition.
As Prince write the song for Batman, we're going back to the 80s with music coming back from the 80s. Here we go. So yeah, I'll let you kick it off.
So yeah, this is a topic. It's a little bit random, but I wanted to discuss it on the podcast to get your take on it because this is something over the past week I really just kind of realized. And like when I was driving to work or visiting my parents or wherever, listening to KDWB, our local like iHeartRadio, big modern music station in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. It like everything is 80s. You have a little bit of like Doja Cat and stuff, which is, more rap based, but so much like, I don't know, 85 to 90% of popular songs right now are 80s inspired, or like with artists like The Weeknd, just straight up 80s. And I think it's so crazy because like trap beats were the biggest thing for the past like 3 to 5 years. And it seems like just in the past month, everybody decided that the 80s were here and they are back. We got a little bit last year with like 5 Seconds of Summer, or maybe even 2 years ago, their album Calm. and just kind of seeing these artists bringing that style into it. But now we got like Justin Bieber, Charlie Puth, and anybody who releases a song right now, it has a little bit of 80s in there. And like, I don't know where rap's place really is going to be, because it seems like the 80s are dominating the pop charts. And when it comes to the more like, you know, rebellious music, to put it that way, since that's typically how it's been looked at, it seems like the kind of angrier rap stuff is moving into rock, with artists like Machine Gun Kelly having such big records. So,
yeah,
you know, I just like, what are your thoughts with all of the 80s sounds coming back? Because I just think it's kind of crazy how, you know, even a year ago, people would make fun of it and say, oh, it's just something that's here for a little bit and then it'll pass through. But it really seems like everybody's embracing it, which I think is crazy.
Yeah, definitely. So with this, like I always say, like the past repeats itself.
Mm-hmm.
Music, especially music and art in any way, the past will always repeat itself eventually. So yes, like with like you don't hear much trap stuff anymore. Like that's very like 2015 to like 2017, 18ish. But you see a lot of like The Weeknd with Blinding Lights, and like Charlie Puth recently with like his sort of thing, and like
Light Switch, I think, is his newest one.
Yeah, Light Switch is the newest one. Yeah, like you see all these people doing different genres, which I enjoy, by the way. But yeah, you see rap. You take the just like the genre of rap, but it spanned into like this pop punk sort of thing. I definitely agree. Machine Gun Kelly, Black Bear. Avril Lavigne coming back, and you got Travis Barker. You got like all these people, even like some other artists coming in. Trippie Redd, I think he's I don't know if you've heard of him. He's another rapper, but he's doing a lot more like things with rock artists, and like
he had his album, I think it was last year. It was like the deluxe version of like Pegasus or Neon Shark, whatever it was called. And it was like a rock album with Travis Barker. So I think that was really cool. And it was the thing I love about these artists, like people will hate on the kind of modern influence on rock music, but that's their own problem. I think like with Trippie Redd in particular, you know, Machine Gun Kelly's album is really good, and it's a good callback to pop punk as it is. But Trippie Redd really took it and molded it to his style. And no, of course it won't be for everybody, but I think just seeing someone really like embrace it for themselves and their artistic style was really cool. But back to what you were saying.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like it's just cool to see artists step out of their comfort zones. I'm a really big fan of Eminem.
I enjoy his stuff too.
I like his older stuff. I enjoy his newer stuff. I'm very much a stan when it comes to Eminem. So like you don't see I don't think you'll ever, well, at least for now, at least I shouldn't say ever, but you won't see a lot of lyrical rap like we did back in, I don't know, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, even, for a little bit. If you do, it's not going to be played as much. But you will see like rock make a return. You will see the 80s come back. So like even Bruno Mars, recently he's been doing some like Princey stuff.
Like, what is it, Silk Sonic or something?
Silk
like that,
Sonic, yeah, and that's the brand that they're under, and like it's just so cool. And it's just like, man, like it's like 80s, but it's like newer 80s. It's like what did I call them? Punk? I think it was new punk, NU punk. So it's like NU 80s, like just like this, just overall, just new style of things, even where it's like things that probably weren't as popular in the early 2000s are popular now. Like you see it in media everywhere, especially in like middle school or high school. You used to get teased for watching Star Wars, and now it's like embraced to like Star Wars.
It's culturally acceptable now.
Yeah, it's weird. Like there was this drift that happened, and like the things that nerd culture in general, it's not nerd culture anymore. It's like this culture that became like everybody else's, and like it's like, oh, it's cool to like Star Wars, it's cool to like pop punk, it's cool to, I mean, like it's cool to like, I don't know, be nerdy and like nerd out about stuff, and like, oh, it's cool that you play video games, it's cool, blah blah blah, right? Like,
Yeah.
I just think overall, like, being in the time we're in now, we'll see a lot of different just media and all, just music and all this kind of stuff. I would say it's a very inventive time, and a very like, it's going to be interesting to see what people make and people's creativity and all that sort of thing. So it's like, when it comes to music especially, it's like so many different ways to create different genres of things, or take a genre and like mix it and like do your own spin on it, right?
Yeah.
Being creative. Yeah, go ahead.
And I think you're totally right with people just kind of like embracing, one, what they want to do, but two, really kind of doing whatever they want to. Like you were talking about with the Bruno Mars project.
Yep.
I would never have thought that I would hear that sound on like a modern popular radio station. And this morning, something really blew my mind. Is I heard twice, one on the way to work, one on the way back from work, because I had a really short shift today.
Yeah.
But it's that song from that new Disney movie. It's like, We Don't Talk About Bruno.
Yeah, We Don't Talk About
from,
Bruno. Yep.
Was it Encanto?
Encanto. Yeah, I actually watched that. My roommate, she was like, you gotta watch this movie, and I was like, okay. And I sat and watched it, and it's like literally, it's one of my, I would say top 7. I'd put it like, yeah, it's a pretty good movie. Like, for Disney animation and all that, like, and that song is like up there with Aladdin. It's beaten, I think we talked about this, but it's beaten like Frozen,
Wow.
The Lion King. There's a bunch of other big ones but it's like, but Aladdin's the last one, so it's like they're second on the Billboard for
That's crazy.
biggest Disney songs. Mm-hmm.
It's yeah, I like they announced it on the radio station, and I was like, hey, this kind of sounds like a Disney song. Like, it's cool that someone's making music that sounds like something you'd hear in a Disney movie. And then they were talking about it after, and they're like, oh, it's from Encanto. I'm like, oh, it is from a Disney movie. So I don't know, like, even with the really big ones like Aladdin, with songs like A Whole New World, like, I never heard those on a radio station. And I think, they may have been, but just hearing like Bruno Mars's new stuff, We Don't Talk About Bruno, Machine Gun Kelly doing pop punk, like, there's just no boundary anymore, and there's no like gatekeepers for music, it seems like, in terms of like what is considered popular. It's just whatever's popular. It's not, oh, we're gonna mold the audience to like this sound or whatever. And I think it's really cool, because going back to like what you were saying, I think everybody's going to really be artistic now and do what they want to, and it's going to create these new genres like new punk and stuff like that. And we're really going to step into a place with music where it is experimental again, which I am really excited about. And I hope one criticism, going back to the Eminem thing you were talking about, I hope he switches up his beats a little bit more, because some of them are, and I know he doesn't make them, he gets them sent in, and beat makers get placements and stuff.
Yep.
But I'd really like to see him experiment more like he did in the past, and I'm hoping his new album will have that.
Yep. And I heard rumors about his new album potentially coming out, so we'll see. But yes, no, like I definitely agree with the Eminem thing. I like old Eminem. My first album I bought at Best Buy when I was in middle school, I think. I don't remember how it was, at 13, 14, somewhere around there. And we had a field trip to Mall of America, and I went to that Best Buy that was there at the time. And then I got the Relapse album that came out in 2009, and my first Eminem album was Relapse. and then ever since then, I liked his stuff. I admit, like, later on, like, I wouldn't like, he's changed his style a little bit from what he was in the past, maybe a lot, but
yeah,
he still
goes
has
through,
his
like,
gems.
phases.
Yep, he has his gems out there,
Yeah.
like Gorilla,
Yes.
and all that stuff, or Godzilla, not Gorilla, Godzilla. Gorilla.
Yeah, I do that too. I call it the wrong thing all the time.
But like Eminem, he's goated, so it's no matter what, like, he will be one of the best, if not the best, lyrical rappers to ever do it. That man studies the dictionary. So
yes, he is a dictionary at this point.
Yes, yes, exactly. So, but in general, like seeing them, they're going to be performing at the halftime show. You're seeing, like, these. It's kind of cool because these 90s rappers, Kendrick Lamar, he's newer, but he does a flowier style of rap.
Yeah.
And then so I think it's going to be, overall, with music and stuff, you'll definitely see just I think a different direction in what people are going to do. Like, I believe, like, there'll be albums people will make where it's like one song will be rock, one song will be rap, or I don't ever. Did you ever listen to Ed Sheeran's collaboration album?
I did, yeah.
Like, that whole album, it was all different genres. He did rap.
Yeah, it was so
did
cool.
Rock. He mixed it up on almost all of his songs, and I was like, this is really cool. So, like, I hope, like, people, like, see that inspiration and just, like, create what they want to. And, like, I sometimes, like, yeah, sure, you want an album to be consistent, but, like, you don't have to have it consistent depending on what you want to make. But it honestly, it depends on the stories you want to tell. So, yeah, just, like, overall, like, I can't wait to see what people are.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, just seeing artists really do what they want to is so cool. And to go back to something you said earlier, getting your first CD at Best Buy in middle school, that was actually not the Eminem one, and I want to say, what would that be, 6th or 7th grade?
Yeah.
I think 2009, whenever that would have been. I went to Best Buy and I got Green Day's album 21st Century Breakdown.
Oh,
and I remember, like, I don't know if it was the same thing for you, but just, like, getting your first CD was so cool. Like, one that you bought yourself.
Yep. No, like, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I heard on one of the radio stations that, like, CDs are starting to make a little bit of a comeback, just like vinyl did. And I think that's really funny because it seems like 5 years ago, everybody was like, oh, CDs are dead. They were just they're a thing of the past now. And of course, probably to go along with, like what you were saying with nostalgia, it's coming back. So I guess CDs are coming back too.
So, yeah, it's definitely like this 2000s-y culture coming back. I'm very much, I love vinyls. I have a record player, but, like, I love vinyls, but, like, I have my collection of CDs. So, like,
I'm the same way.
Yeah, because, well, I used to have like a mobile, it's like a Walkman, but you could play CDs in it. And, I used to carry that around all the time. I used to just put a CD in, and it was like when I was in middle school, and it was before like, everybody had iPhones, and, like, they have iPods, but, like, you can just easily get, like, a mobile CD player and just play, like, your favorite album. The two CDs I had was Eminem's Relapse and Nickelback's Black Horse. So, like, so I listened to Eminem and Nickelback. That was growing up. That was just a strange time for me, I guess. And, like, but the thing was, so this is the cool thing, right? Daughtry and Nickelback, they were the ones that made me venture out into different rock artists, like All American Rejects, Linkin Park, and all these bands that I love now. It was because of those two. Eminem was the reason why I explored rap, 50 Cent, Dr. Dre, and all these artists that came up. And like, so I it's cool that I can pinpoint the exact artists that I can say like spawn my interests in other artists. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
To kind of look at, who your first album you got really sparked everything else and kind of lit that fire, and even leading to you making music yourself too, which I think is so cool.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like when you go back to the Green Day, what album was that? The 21st Century?
Yeah, 21st Century Breakdown. Yeah.
Breakdown, yes. Like that's the one with 21 Guns on it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So like hearing that like for the first time, and like because I was a pretty like average Green Day fan. I knew that whole the American Idiot album because I had that. I had that one too, and so like hearing that. Like Green Day, a big Green Day song come out like that, I was like, yeah.
Dude, it was crazy because, like, your 21 Guns, that one was everywhere. Like, I think the first song I ever heard was American Idiot, and that's, like, sparked everything. I heard, like, the album American Idiot and Dookie after that, and fell in love with the band, but I remember one of my friends in my neighborhood was playing 21 Guns, and he was always someone who was only listening to like, top 10, top 20 songs and stuff like that. So seeing that impact at that time, especially since I don't know if you knew this, but after their album Warning in 2000, it was such a like commercial failure that there was talk that the band was going to not make music anymore. And they recorded an album called Cigarettes and Valentines, and that was stolen. So then, we don't know if it was really stolen or they decided to go another direction, but they say it was stolen, so we'll go with that. The album was stolen, and they wrote American Idiot about everything going on politically and just in the world in general. So, who knows sense. If it was a feeling they had and they felt like they needed to go another direction or what. But Angsty. American Idiot blew up, and then that went into 21st Century Breakdown, and the rest is history, really.
Yep. Like, I was going back to, like, my childhood. It's funny how, like, I started off kind of innocent, besides Eminem, but like Daughtry and Nickelback, and then like the older I got, the angrier I got. I think it's just because life experience, and I've been through some shit. So like Linkin Park, it was definitely like when I started getting into like metal and just more angstier music, and that would branch out into other things. So it's like it's funny how you just like. You take like your little innocent self, and then you branch out to like where like music really hits you, and then you're like, wow, like it's just a story of my life. So music, it definitely is like an impact in people's lives. Like music, it'll always be a thing, and it's just so fascinating. And like going back kind of to the 80s stuff real quick is like. You do see a lot more of like electronic music, or like electronic as in like more synthy stuff, and more just like people playing with those tones from the 80s, but totally bringing it back in their own way, which is just fascinating to see. And as that is as fascinating to see, we're going also to something that's old but kind of new. This is a special topic for me. I kind of wanted to do this one. So Halo the TV series. This is a funny one. It's not fun, but it's something like Halo's been a very passionate thing of mine, and so they aired the commercial for this during the halftime on Sunday for the football game. And I've been a big fan of Halo. Halo has been like throughout my life ever since I was a kid, and still a fan of it. Playing Infinite, obviously. And so I wanted to talk to you about the Halo TV series really quick, and
Yes.
like did you see the trailer?
Yeah, I saw the trailer, and I'll let you lead the conversation, and when you need my input, I will provide it, because you know a lot more about Halo than I do.
Yeah. So the Halo TV series, it's going to take place in a different timeline. It's so they call it the silver timeline.
Okay.
This term has been used before in something else I forgot, but it's pretty much it's the same art, but it's a different timeline in general. So it'll be its own story. It's unique, and it's just going to it's not going to be it's not technically it's not canon, but it's its own. It's canon, but it's not canon to the regular Halo universe.
Okay.
And it's going to tell its own story. But the cool thing about the commercial that I saw is just how darker it's going to be. It's going to bring a new light. I think it's going to be these things called Forerunners that are the creators of these Halo rings. And so I think what it's going to do is focus on that. We'll see. I'm just speculating. And you'll see Cortana, you'll see Halsey, you'll see all these probably characters from the Halo universe that we know and love, just in a different alternate universe, or a timeline. And so it's going to be interesting to see where they go with it. I like the action scenes. Because I'm going to go back in time a little bit. District 9. Did you ever watch that movie?
I did not.
Okay, so District 9 was Peter Jackson's movie, or I forgot who made that movie, but I think it was Peter Jackson actually. So he was supposed to be the one that made the Halo movie back in 2007 or whatever it was, but they canceled it, and the stuff from District 9, a lot of the props from District 9 were supposed to be used in the Halo movie, because they already had everything kind of planned out. And so when you watch District 9, you could see a lot of props, a lot of the aliens, a lot of things just look really Halo-y. I think even it was very interesting for the time, and it was that was technically the canceled Halo movie. It was just they had to do something else and make something else with it. So actually, and the Halo TV series was announced in 2014 at E3 2014. It was supposed to be directed by Steven Spielberg, and Steven Spielberg came out to E3 with Bonnie Ross, and it was announced, hey, the Halo TV series, it's coming soon. It's been I don't know how long has it been since 2014.
Quite a while.
7 or 8 years.
7-ish years, yeah.
Yeah. So it's this thing finally has a release date. I forgot what the release date was. but
we know it's out there.
Yeah, it's coming. Yeah, it's official now. The trailer's out, and it's I like the whole just darker kind of military-esque, and Chief being this being the Chief, and we actually get to see him in live action in a TV series that people have been waiting for ever since, I would say, the Halo 2 days.
Wow.
Because Halo 3, people were really wanting a Halo TV or movie after Halo 3, but it just never happened. And actually it was Halo 2. Yeah, because after Halo 2, they were in talks to make a Halo movie, but it never came to fruition. And then afterwards, after every Halo release, people were always speculating, when's the movie coming out? When's the TV series coming out? 2014, they announced it. Then we still had to wait 7.5 years later. We finally get the release date of it. So I'm really excited for this. It's going to be on Paramount Plus, and I think it's just going to be like a fever dream. It's going to be every Halo nerds gonna see this, and they're going to be like, this is what we've been waiting for. I honestly think it's going to do pretty well. I'm going to be interested to see what they do with it, and just like the battle scenes and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
super excited for that. But I do want your input of how you felt on just like overall the trailer, and like I know you don't know a lot about Halo, but if you do have any questions, like I could certainly answer them.
Yeah, so watching this trailer was kind of a weird experience for me because I've seen Halo around for like the majority of my life, or whenever they came out. I've seen it. I have friends that have played the games. I've seen, like the helmets everywhere. And it's something I've been exposed to without really diving into it. And so I don't really know much about it at all. And I didn't know what to expect going into watching this trailer. And I am so happy that I enjoyed this trailer, because typically with things that are based around video games or books or something like that, there's a certain style that sometimes these things fall into, where they're trying to be too much like a game and they don't really focus on the story itself. But I was really happy to see that with this trailer, it seems like it is very story forward or story driven, and I think that'll be great for people like me, because if they just made a series where it picks up at some point in time and you're expected to know all of this history about Halo, people are going to be turned off by it. I wouldn't watch that because I wouldn't understand it. But really seeing how they're explaining things, and like seeing the Halo at the end, and really like we're going on this journey with those characters, I'm going to watch this because it's, again, something I've seen my whole life. And the trailer actually looks really good and interesting. And it's something that intrigues me. And I never really thought I would say that, because, typically, like I said, I see things like this. And it's part of why, going back to the Sonic movie from earlier, I haven't watched the Sonic movie, just because I never played those games really. And I don't know a whole lot about the characters. But it could be a similar situation like with this, and you can let me know if the Sonic movie does a good job explaining things like as being a movie, or if you need this background knowledge to understand what's going on.
No, you won't need any background knowledge, since it'll take place in an alternate timeline. So you'll just be able to watch this, and it'll tell its own story. It's what that's the really cool thing about this, is that it's going to just it's going to tell its story, and you don't need to know all the Halo stuff prior, because I'm pretty sure it'll explain itself in this show. And like going back to like Sonic and stuff real quick, when you see the first Sonic movie and when you see the second Sonic movie, sure, you can watch the first one for context on certain things, but if you watch the second one, I think it'll still be fun regardless. But when it comes to Halo, it's a cultural phenomenon. It came out in 2001. The games have been successful ever since. They've been Xbox exclusives. They've been one of the biggest gaming franchises. It is the reason why first person shooters are the way they are on consoles. If you didn't have Halo, if you didn't have Halo, Call of Duty would have had a hard time mapping the controls, and just the controller, and what would shoot, what would switching weapons, all this sort of stuff. But Halo did it right, being the first game on console besides GoldenEye at the time, and being because they were very skeptical of it. They're like, I don't know, we'll see, and luckily it was a success. And ever since 2001. Halo has been, a franchise that has just been doing great and better things every year. I mean, there's been speculation on Halo 5 and 4 and all this sort of stuff. Halo Infinite did really well. I'm enjoying it. But it's Halo in general, the brand itself, the name Halo. If you haven't played the games and you haven't known the story of Halo, you know the name Halo and where it comes from. And,
exactly.
Yeah, as a cultural phenomenon and a thing, it's really cool to kind of now see its own TV adaptation that people have been waiting so long for, and people that are just like so passionate about that. Me personally, as a big Halo fan, I couldn't be more excited. So yeah, it's going to be really cool to see, and I can't wait to see the reviews and just kind of just like watch it for myself and take it all in for that first time. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and like with what you were saying about how long you had to wait, like regardless of what people, think about it, and once it comes out and what the reviews are, I feel like it'll still be, even though we've had movies like Ready Player One and Sonic and stuff like that, I feel like a serious like video game based series or movie like this is gonna be a big step in the direction, kind of like you were saying, where it was the first person shooter game that really was kind of like out there and blew up and set the stage for everything. I feel like it could do this again with the TV show, because we haven't really, from what I could be wrong, but we haven't really seen something like this before, where it is a more serious side of an adaptation from something like a video game before.
Yeah, and they've made like live action things for Halo. There's this like this short movie you can watch on like YouTube. It's called Forward Unto Dawn, but it wasn't as serious. There's also gosh, what's the other one? It's darker. I forgot the name. Nightfall. It's called Halo Nightfall.
Okay.
But it's gosh, it actually has a Marvel actor in it.
Ooh.
Oh no, I don't remember his name. He plays Sergeant Locke or Agent Locke, and like, yeah, that's more darker, and it's like on this Halo ring, and it's pretty cool. But it's definitely, it's live action, but it's not movie-esque like or movie or TV-esque as this one's going to be. This one's definitely going to be like, the production's going to be there, the everything. I've already heard good things about it, so hopefully like just hopefully it's good, and like I'll praise it, even though it's Halo, so I know I'll like it. I'll make myself like it. So other than that, like, yeah, I'm just excited for it. Do you have any other comments?
No, I mean, I'm just excited to see what your reaction is, because it is such a big part of your life, and who knows, maybe that's something, I don't know if like you can react to stuff on Twitch, or if we could cut it up for YouTube or whatever, but I know we were talking about doing reactions, and that could be something really fun with that series. Even if we do it, like separate or together or whatever, getting the different perspectives of someone who's immersed in that world versus myself.
Definitely. No, definitely. Yeah, I definitely agree. So with that's our show. We covered a lot today. We covered the Book of Boba Fett, No Way Home, Batman, the 80s, and Halo TV series. And I'm just like, overall, like, this episode, this was awesome. And like, I'm enjoying just getting into it and just having fun talking. Like, we nerded out today, just like we always do.
Yes.
So I can't wait to see what our next topics are about, and just like going forward. I'm enjoying this journey. I hope you are, Max, as well.
Oh, I am. Like I was saying last time, like, just being able to talk about this stuff, like really talk about it with you in particular, because we, have these similar interests and these things like Halo, where you know more and I know less. It's like we can have really interesting conversations, and you're a great friend, so just being able to really go into everything and know that we're giving our honest opinions, and we can talk about really whatever we want. I love it, so I can't wait to do more of these in the future.
Definitely, man. So with that, like, I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. And we also look for us on our new socials. Everything will be linked either in the description, or it's on our YouTube again. And with that, I thank you thank you everyone for watching or listening and tuning in. Max, do you have anything to close the show?
No, I think you put it perfectly. Thank you to everybody who checked out this episode, the first episode, both episodes, or wherever you are in this journey, years down the line, finding us on YouTube. Who knows? Thank you for tuning in and supporting us with what we want to do. And I can't wait to see what the future of this podcast becomes.
Definitely, man. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we will see you in the next one.
See ya.